All right, a lot of you have been asking for progress updates on where our heavy truck builds are at. So in this video, we're going to be taking you from bare frame rails to completed rolling chassis on our 3 trucks, the MCon Snowplow, the Undisclosed Truck, and the old International. All right, exciting news. Our frame rails are here so we can start building the next couple trucks. All right, so we got the frame rails all punched out. We just got them here. Now we got them to Tyler. Tyler's gonna be sandblasting and painting these guys. Remember last year we mag drilled every single hole. That was a nightmare, and then we had to paint them. Doing a little bit more professional. We got the experts in here.
Awesome.
Hey, well, thanks so much for taking care of these.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity.
Thanks, you bet.
Awesome.
See you when they're done.
Okay, sweet.
All right, we're here getting the next set of frame rails all sandblasted, primered, and then the top coat will be going on here in about 30 minutes. It's exciting. These are literally the start of the next 2 trucks right here. All right, so you guys know we've been driving around, we've been hauling logs. We're at the point where we can now just use Topsy for our own stuff. So we have to get these frame rails back to our shop. We can use our own truck to do it. As far as I'm concerned, that's a huge step for the company. It's awesome.
That's not bad. We still had twice the power, and we were accelerating going up it, so, I mean, with an empty trailer. Okay, we're gonna take her nice and easy here. Tough in speed. Let me tighten up. They deactivated my turnaround rail though, eh? Oh yeah.
This truck ran so well all the way home. Like, that went phenomenal. No issues, no problems. Like, we're hauling loads, it's working good. I'm happy.
You reminded me.
Well, maybe you should hit the throttle a little more. No, having the radios in both the trucks really helps.
No.
Well, this is awesome. So we got frame rails back at the shop now, which means that, well, next week we'll get them in there, get them unloaded, start assembling it, but that is a wrap for this week. It has been so successful. Okay, so those last 2 sets of frame rails were for the Undisclosed Project and the International Truck. This set of frame rails is for the MCon Snowplow Truck, which we will be building in their shop. In order to bring them in, we put one forklift on one side, the other forklift on the other side, Big shout out to the editing guy for clipping that frame rail falling off the fork. But we'll bring these into the shop like this, lift them up, roll some jack stands under it, and now we can proceed bringing in the cross members next and start assembling. That man is a certified forklift operator right there. Here we're bringing in the cross members that were built from one of our manufacturing facilities, so they sure wrapped them up to protect them. We'll get them unwrapped, we'll flip the frame rails over, then we'll start sliding the cross members in. Okay, are we ready? Go, 3, 2, 1, up! Go.
Oh, they're both moving.
Okay, so we got the 2 frame rails stood up with pure manpower alone. So next, we're just gonna slide the cross members in. So we got the 2 cross members. They are a 5-piece cross member, so you can disassemble them. We're gonna slide them in just while building the trucks because it was easier to just have them pre-assembled, pre-bolted on so that they're all square and then slide them in. When you wanna service these on your trucks though, all you do is you separate the 2 pieces of cross members. So we built it where a lot of cross members, they're welded or they're permanent. The way we did ours is basically this middle piece and 2 end caps. So it's 5 pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you got to service it, if it breaks, if it does anything, you don't have to take them all out. You don't have to cut them apart. You just take it out, take the middle piece out, put a new middle piece in. That's how you service these cross members. But for the sake of assembling in the shop, we pre-built them on a level square surface, then we'll slide them in. I noticed some of you are gonna call out on the lock washers. Don't worry, we're using stovers. We're just putting on normal nuts as a temporary measure while we assemble. You guys might notice that this is almost backwards from a normal truck. Normal truck, the top of the cross member sits almost flush with the top of the frame rail. We've done this backwards because we're not worrying about a drive shaft. Normally you'd have your drive shaft coming back and they have a steady bearing and everything that's got to hold it. This way, we've got all our high voltage lines. So rather than having the high voltage lines sit down where there could be mud or muck or anything, those high voltage lines, air lines will run nice and smoothly across the top of these frame rails here.
That isn't Chace's unibrow, it's actually dirt. Or maybe it's dirt, like emphasizing or exaggerating his unibrow. I can't tell.
Maybe. You guys that have been following for a while, remember the nightmare that Topsy was? We had to mag drill every single hole on this by hand through 1/2-inch hardened steel. We had to get it laser leveled where everything was perfectly in line. This time, thanks to our engineers, we all had it all drawn out. We sent it off to a shop. They were able to punch all the holes in, which means that we just had to drop these in, put them in there. We went from, what did we spend? 2 weeks, Ray, last time with Topsies with all the drilling and lining. 3-4 weeks, almost a month drilling all the holes and everything. This time, we just slopped them in. The whole thing, it's taken like 2 hours? I think 2 hours to bring the frame rails in, lay them out, grab lunch, and then put these together. So we're growing. We are growing as a company. We're getting a little bit more professional. We're getting engineering. We're using things like punches instead of hand drilling. So this is just a big success all around. I know it doesn't look like much, just putting a bolt in a hole is a success, but the fact that we're able to do this is a huge step, yeah.
Hello, my name is Jacob LaFond. I am the mechanical engineering lead for Edison Motors, and we would just like to show off some of the engineering work that we've done on our new trucks So this is actually the 3D model of the truck that we have here in the shop. And one of the big improvements that these trucks are going to have over Topsy is the ability to do work in CAD before the trucks are even produced. So with Topsy, there was no CAD work done beforehand. With these trucks, we've been using a software called Onshape, which allows us to place components from our suppliers into the 3D model. You can see exactly where all the holes are, and then you're able to line up those holes and then create a drawing, send those to the frame rail supplier, and they're able to pre-punch everything for us. And what that allows us to do is just save a whole bunch of time in the shop. So you don't have to spend 2 minutes per hole drilling everything out. You can just have the frame rail show up, have the cross member show up, have all of our hangers for the axle show up, and then you can bolt everything together. So it allows us to expedite the process for producing trucks. It's way faster to do this. With Onshape, one thing that allows us to work together as a team really great is the ability to have 2 people in the same model at the same time. So someone making the cab can be going back and forth between their model and, say, this model here with the frame rails. So the person working on the frame rails can make a change, and the person producing the cab is able to look in that model and see, oh, they made an adjustment moving this bracket 2 inches forward. In an old school CAD software, you would have to make those changes, save it, and then send it to the other person. And this software Onshape allows us to do that in real time, which is phenomenal. It saves us a ton of time.
Today we came over to Penticton Foundry. We sent them over a bunch of 3D files, and they're going to be making the axle mounts. Basically the things that attach the axle to the suspension. We wanted them cast out of metal. I didn't realize, but this is a capability that we still have in Canada. We have places that can do limited batch runs like this. We're working on the casting right now. They gave us a big tour of the factory back there. We watched them pouring the steel into some molds. Really, really cool. And the cool thing is, once we build the mold, we'll have that mold in the future, and it's gonna be really quick and affordable to make future castings for the axles. Now that we finally got the final axle we're gonna be using on all the trucks, we might as well just get a mold made, pay that one-time cost, and then it's real cheap and quick going forward for all the rest of our production builds. This plant is only 2 hours away from our shop. It's been here since 1935, and we've been working together to make these axle mounts. A few weeks ago, we had those 3D printed mounts. What we did is we put them in there, made sure it fit under the suspension. Then we sent the 3D models over to Chad. Chad then basically sent it off to his guys in his department. They put it into a sand casting. So they take the axle, put it into the sand, that forms a mold, and then you pour the molten steel in there and touch it up. There we go. That is a finished piece right there. Now we'll take it over, get the holes machined out, get back to the truck. So today we are working on these battery boxes. We had these built by a local fab shop. They got them finished a couple weeks ago. We were just waiting for the engineers to decide exactly where it's gonna be. We were kind of playing catch up with those guys, but they gave us the go-ahead to start installing them, start placing them on there. So we came in with a mag drill, drilled out some holes, got it in here, got her bolted up. Now we're gonna be continuing on today to the front suspension. So now that we have the battery boxes, we know exactly that's our point of reference for where the front suspension starts. We'll get that measured up, we'll get the rear hangers in place. Then what we're gonna do is then place the leaf spring up into the suspension pack. We'll drop on the front hanger for the suspension, connect the torque arm up, bolt that together. Then we're gonna mark out the places for the front suspension, drill those holes out with the mag drill again, get the bolts in there, do the same to the other side, and that will be, by the end of the day, we'll have our front suspension on. Hopefully then the next day, once our hangers, we're just waiting for the same fab shop that did the battery boxes to finish up our axle hangers. Then we'll be lifting these axles into place with our overhead gantry crane, placing them under. We're gonna place the hangers to the suspension. Then we're gonna lift the whole thing up with the lower arms of the suspension up into the suspension hangers. Then later we'll have to get the torque arms, put those in, get the tires and rims on, get the steer axle on, and this thing was pretty close to being a rolling chassis. Okay, so this is pretty cool that we got. You know how we've been doing everything with that old backhoe? You've probably watched the old videos of me operating the backhoe, trying to put axles in, and then it's a 40-year-old backhoe and the hydraulics keep leaking and seeping down. You gotta bring it up. So we're still in the tent shop, so we couldn't get an overhead crane, but I bought the next best thing. It's a crane excavator, a crane excavator. This thing is sweet. It's a little tiny excavator crane. So now we can walk in there, we can place our axles with it. One of the problems with the backhoe, I couldn't place things. So then we had to do the thing where like the axle's up on jack stands as you were bringing it up, and that's how I crushed my arm last year. Well, no more fiddle fucking around. We got a crane excavator. And then check this out. We were debating between a forklift, but a forklift can't put anything. So bought myself one of these for a couple $100. Good old auction special, but now I can use the crane excavator as a forklift. Like, we are gonna be cooking now. This thing is awesome. This thing here is pretty cool. It just came in, but this truck behind me is getting the lift axle. So basically what happens is an extra axle to carry weight, extra braking capacity. Then when you're empty, these bags inflate, the axle lifts up. When you're loaded, these bags deflate, the bags that go here inflate, and that puts the pressure onto the road surface. Basically, because this truck is so long and what it's doing is relatively fully loaded, they're gonna put a lift axle, we're gonna put a lift axle right in the middle. It goes right about here, and it just helps out the drive axles back there.
Hi, I am Connor. I am the newest addition at Edison Motors. I am a Red Seal heavy-duty mechanic.
And Theron's making me talk on camera.
And Theron is making me talk on camera.
What are you doing?
Today, what we did, we had to get this lift axle installed. I've never played around with lift axles before because they are not legal to run in BC, so it's a little bit of a learning curve for me, but that's just the way it goes. All we had to do is we had to get the parallelism correct for where the axle is going to be, and then set up the mag drill and start drilling some holes. We drilled these holes here. There's about 12 of them on each side, and they're torqued to 315 foot-pounds. The next step that we got to do is set up these airbag brackets. Got to get them set up right there. Get those holes drilled, and then get the leveling valve set up, and then we'll start playing around with that. Now we're outside, and another project I'm working on is this 98 T300, which will be our service truck that we got here. I gotta throw, to make this thing roadworthy, I gotta throw some exhaust in it. I gotta throw a Y in it. As you can see, the electrical junction box is just kind of dangling there. I gotta do that too. I had to dig a rat's nest out of the brake drum on this side. I gotta get the door back installed on that side. We have 2 fuel tanks showing up for this thing, so it'll look nice and spiffy. Me and Dean put in this pintle hitch yesterday, and next we're just kind of waiting on other stuff to show up, like the new fuel tanks and stuff, new battery boxes for both sides, and I'll throw in the exhaust today.
Is it kind of cool? Whose shop truck's this going to be?
I think it's going to be mine, but who knows. I've definitely had better looking parts runners before. Theron had to get me a starter and a brake kit today for me, so hopefully the next one's cuter.
And that brings us to the next project truck, which is this 1938 International K8. We picked this up from a guy in town. It was barely running, but we drove it home, and we are gonna take this truck down. The frame rails are rotten, put some new frame rails on it, and bring this into our hybrid pickup truck kit. We overheated on the side of the road, so we cooled her with some snow and hoping for the best. Okay. Oh. Oh, try the starter.
Big motor drummer, man.
It is surprisingly hard. Okay, so we'll get this International stripped down. We're gonna get it sent off to the sandblaster, get it painted, and then we'll get it onto the new frame rails. All right, this is awesome. The International cab just got back from being painted. They did a wicked awesome job. It's snowing like crazy, roads are mucky, so we had to literally pick it up in a U-Haul because I didn't want it to get super filthy before we install it, but let's get her out. Let's get it onto the frame rail in the back of the shop here, and then we're good to start installing parts on this thing now. Today is exciting. We got the cab on the new frame rails and we got the axles put in there. So our new axles, the new semi-truck axles, are now going onto our World War II pickup. And little Cummins is installed.
We have just received our first ever professionally manufactured harness. This bad boy is for our 12-volt MBEC, which is the device that controls all the things such as your horn, windshield wiper, your motorized windows, things like that. A lot of engineering work went into this guy. It started off with a list of all the components, power calculations, selecting of wire gauges, selecting of insulation size, so that we can properly crimp it into the right pins that match up with the device. From there, we took all that and we laid out a very simple KiCad schematic, which is a free to use, open source electrical schematic symbol just for PCBs. And that was just to figure out what devices need to connect to what. From there, we used a software called Rapid Harness, where we basically got to take pictures of all the devices, their pinouts, and group wires into bundles and then show how those bundles connect to all the devices on the thing. From there, we transfer that over to Onshape, our 3D routing software. And there we got all the wire lengths by actually physically routing the models through the vehicle. And there we got those lengths plugged into Rapid Harness, send them off to Rapid Harness or Harness Master, so that they can manufacture it for us. And now that we have it, it's just time to open it up and make sure it's all happy. Oh yeah. Yeah, so this is our trailer harness, I believe, that goes out from our 12/24 volt system, and then we'll plug into standard trailer setup.
So where does this one go? So it plugs into the MVEX here?
Yeah, so this basically provides power from the MVEC.
Oh, black to black graded.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
And then these guys go to like a junction box.
Yeah, so these are just our ground terminals. So all the devices have a return wire line, and then this goes to a junction box. This is to one of our other devices inside the cab, I believe.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty simple then. Yeah, I like it. This was the result of I'm really proud of this whole crew. They did a fantastic job. This is the result of months and months of engineering, and I can't wait to see this. We got the smallest wiring harness done first. I can't wait to see the big guns start showing up. This was so encouraging to see the huge step up from Topsy, just even having simple things like the holes on the frame rail engineered where the cross members and suspension went exactly where they want. Being able to design and engineer parts like this MCU mount, the battery boxes, where we could send them off to local fabrication shops to have them built, was a huge step up in production efficiency. So I'm excited to see how even the next ones go. You know, the next ones are going to be in our new shop that we're going to be building. We have till April 21st to raise that investment funds. If you guys are interested in supporting us, please go to the website under the investment page. What we raise between now and April 21st is going to be the budget of the shop. The more we can raise, the bigger shop we can build, the more of these chassis we can do it. I think we've got a good chance, because if we're able to get this accomplished using 2 different tent shops, imagine what we can do with a big shop. So thank you for your support. We'll make sure we keep showing you these videos, and the next ones, batteries are been inspected. The engineers are happy with the batteries. Those batteries are getting shipped over. I think the cabs are getting near finished. So we'll show you those cabs going on, batteries going in, high voltage. We're already getting air lines and electrical lines run. So stay tuned and follow along at the next step of this build. Okay, some of you guys were calling me fat, and now that we were doing the video editing and you look back, I definitely was not where I wanted to be. Actually, somebody came up in person. They're like, hey, you're the Edison Motors guy. You're way fatter in real life. Like, emotional damage. But I did realize that, like, with the stress of the business, I wasn't eating healthy. I wasn't where I wanted to be. And now that the business is growing, our investment raise has been going well. We're going into production. Production's going well. I'm eating healthier. I feel better physically. So yeah, you can definitely see this change when we edited that video going back. And I guess in a weird way, shout out to that guy that called me out.